Hi everyone, it's your favourite Atomic Blonde here. Picard Season 3, Episode 9. I am exhausted. I don't know what I'm going to be like after the final episode. This episode was amazing. Loads of fan service. I'm sure some people will complain. But everything in there made sense for it to be in there. We wanted it to be in there and it wasn't just shoehorned in and didn't make sense. I love this episode. I had to take a little bit of a break before recording this. I was totes emosh. I was so emosh for a couple of reasons, and I'll probably start like when I'm talking about it. Terry Matalis has done, and his writing team. I've seen a few other YouTube channels where the writers have been on and interviewed. And the passion for this season has just come through. And I think, we just saw it in this episode. It just blew me away. So let's get into it. So obviously at the end of the last episode, Deanna's with Jack and they're going to look what's behind this door to try and understand, what's happening to Jack. Why is he hearing these voices? Why has he got these powers? I pretty much just kick off there, and Deanna's with him, and he reaches out and opens the door, and then we see Deanna just pulling away, terrified, and she just legs it, which I think was a really unprofessional thing to do as a counsellor. He's like, what did you see? What did you see? What's wrong? So she scared the living crap out of him because she didn't tell him, and she just blooming legged it. So poor old Jack's sitting there like, what the hell? Like I wasn't scared enough already. So anyway, Deanna runs off, goes and speaks to Picard and Beverly. And she explains that behind this door is the Borg. There's a big Borg cube. And this is the voices that Jack's been hearing. So I was right, wrong about the Romulans, red herring. I'm thinking Borg cube, season 1 of Picard, Romulans, Borg. But I was right about the Borg and there being some nanotes or something, or that's Jack's connected in somehow to the Borg. So I've been watching so much old Trek, trying to figure all this out, and watched a lot of Trek I didn't need to watch. But I enjoyed it anyway, and it's just been a lovely experience that this show makes me want to go back and watch old Trek, where I'd pretty much just gone, you know what, I'm out. So thank you for that one. So obviously, Picard's devastated. He realizes, or they both realize, that obviously this is a consequence of when Jean-Luc was assimilated and became Locutus. And something remained in him, and obviously the changelings had found this out, and that's why they stole his body. And ultimately, this means that Jack is the weapon. This is the thing that's going to take down the Federation. Deanna says, look, there's protocols. We've got to like lock up Jack or do something. We don't know how he's going to be used. We don't know if he can control it. And Picard, Beverly, is like, well, I need to go see Jack. And Picard's like, no, I'll talk to him. This is like, he's blaming. He's like, this is my fault. I'll go speak to Jack. He goes to see Jack, who's obviously frantic at this point. He's like, absolutely, like, what the hell's going on? And Picard explains to him about the assimilation and how this is, what's happened to him. And Jack is just, obviously, you can imagine, devastated. He'd always sort of felt different, and he just always thought, if people could just listen more or have more of a united voice, or everybody could see everything the same way, the world would be a better place. But now he's sort of realizing that these kind of thoughts come from the Borg and like this sort of assimilation, and now he's kind of horrified that he even thought that way. The doors open and there's sort of 2 security guards, and Jack realizes that he's going to be locked up. At this point he's had enough. He's like, no, I'm I'm not being used anymore. I've gone along with everything you wanted me to go along with, and it stops now. So he takes control of the 2 security guards so he can escape in a shuttle. And he's basically plans that he's going to go and find the Borg and kill them. So he manages to get away in a shuttle, and obviously the voice he keeps hearing in his head is telling him to come home and find us, or find me, Jack. So being able to tap into that, he's able to navigate to where the Borg cube is. And once he's on board, you hear the Borg Queen's voice, and this is the Borg Queen from First Contact, the actress that played the First Contact Borg Queen, who tempted Data with his real flesh, as she liked to call it. And she goes on to say, like, she like sort of welcome home, and she explains what Locutus's role was and how he was the voice of the Borg, and how she's named him Vox, and how, you know, he's gonna sort of transmit. He's the one that's gonna assimilate and bring everybody to the Borg. And he finds the Borg Queen, and he's pointing his phaser at her, and he's desperately trying to fight what's going on. And she just says, like, if you could have killed me, you would have done it by now. And he just kind of gives up. And you see all these like cables come down and just start sort of plugging into him and plugging him into the collective. Meanwhile, back on the Titan, you've got Geordi and Data and Beverly. Wolf, they've been going through Ro's files. I've discovered that there's something's been happening with the transporters, hence why obviously Ro wouldn't use the transporters. She knew they were connected somehow. I don't think she'd figured out how. I thought it was to do with, obviously there was a reference in DS9 in the Dominion Wars. There was lots of accidents due to transporters and the people, you know, being killed in the transporters. So I thought it was to do with that. What's happened and what they've discovered is that by taking Picard's body and getting his DNA, they have then sort of built a template into Starfleet's transporters, that whenever you go through the transporters, you take on a piece of Jean-Luc Picard's DNA, effectively. And it's almost like a sort of baseline template in some way. And they figure this out, but they're like, why? Why would, what would that do? You know, to what point? And then they start talking about Jack and Jack's powers. And they're like, how could he control people if they've never been assimilated? How are the two things connected? We then sort of like cut to the bridge, and obviously Deanna's told Picard, and they're basically obviously bringing everybody else up to speed that the Borg's involved. They've got to get to Frontier Day. They've got to warn them. Picard was like, sure, right, we've got to go to Frontier Day. And he's like, you want me to fly into the sort of the jaws of the lion? Okay, let's do that then. So they're en route, obviously, back to Earth and Starfleet for Frontier Day to warn them that the Borg are coming. When they get there, so they've basically then figured out from the transporters, so they say that the DNA is now in anybody who's been through the transporters. That Jack can transmit somehow. And basically, when they get to Frontier Day, like celebrations are underway, all the fleet's in orbit, there's all fireworks going off. And then we see a callback. So on the Excelsior, we have Admiral Shelby. Yes, that Admiral Shelby from Best of Both Worlds. So she was Commander Shelby. And we find out that Riker still really doesn't have a lot of like for her. And it's her fault that, as obviously we found out in previous episodes, that all the ships now talk to each other. They're all one sort of synchronized defense system. which I also said they're going to use that and they're going to turn on each other. Right on that one. So Picard gets there through an emergency channel. They manage to start broadcasting a message to say that the Borg are coming. They're going to take over the ship somehow. They kind of have to find a way to disconnect this network. And then we see on Shelby's ship that we start hearing firing, and she's like, "What's going on?" And she's talking to the crew, and the members of the crew shoot and kill Shelby. And then we hear this across the comms that this is all happening on all the ships. So Shaw's like, "Right, ratio, let's get the frick out of here." And he tells the helmsman, like, "We've got to get out of here," and nothing's happening. He says, "The Forge, plot a course, get us out of here." Nothing. And then they're both sort of sitting there and they start twitching. And then we see their faces and all the veins are starting to stick out, and they're sort of going black in the veins and their eyes are going black. And then as we go around the bridge, certain crew members are all going through this transformation. And then Beverly and the others who are still in sickbay figure out that where people have gone through the transporters and they now have this Picard DNA. If they're over a certain age, basically over 25, it doesn't affect them. So when your frontal lobe, I think it is, or cortex, but it's fully formed at the age of 25. At that point, it doesn't change anymore. That's almost like when your brain becomes an adult. That's as far as your brain development will go. So anyone under the age of 25 will be affected and assimilated by the Borg. And if you're over 25, you're screwed. So obviously both of the Forge's girls have been assimilated. The people on the bridge, Geordie's freaking out. He's like, "I've got to get to my girls. I've got to get to my girls." And you have this lovely scene with Data, and he just gets him and goes, "And do what? We need a plan, Geordie. You can't just run up there. We've got to figure it out. We've got to save them." So back on the bridge, the others, make the same kind of connection that they got to get off the bridge. So you've got Riker, Shaw, Picard, Seven, all getting off the bridge, getting into the turbo lift. They're trying to figure out what's going on, and they're obviously watching what on one of the screens. They see that the Excelsior is destroyed by other Starfleet ships. So Shelby's being killed. That's her fault for doing it in the first place. And within minutes, they've taken over all the Starfleet ships. They're then heading for space dock, and then so they can just start then to assimilate the Earth. Meanwhile, they're all trying to meet up, and Shaw has the idea to get down to engineering. There's no guards down there. There's when we can get a maintenance shuttle and we can get the hell out of here. They all head down and manage to meet up. And Deanna says something like, "I've never been so grateful to see wrinkles," because obviously they've all figured out that it's just old people who aren't affected. And then a gunfight breaks out, and the main crew are trying to get onto the shuttle. Shaw's like covering them and says, like, "Picard, get in there, Riker, I'll cover you, go." And then Seven's there with Shaw, and Raffi's going to go, and like Raffi's, "No, I'm staying here with you," because Seven's like, "I'm staying here with Shaw." So all the TNG crew are now on the shuttle, and just so it looks like everybody's going to get away, Shaw gets shot and goes down. The shuttle gets away. And we see this scene with like Seven and Shaw, and he gives a command of the Titan, and he calls it Seven. He's like, "I hand over command to you, Seven." And it looks like he's dead. It looks like they've killed off Shaw. It's like, "Mr. Matalis, got to be your first wrong step. Cannot believe you gave us this fantastic character who was a complete arse to start with. He was evolved, and then you'd like, what the hell? I'm not happy. I'm not happy with this." So, but what I do think, right, given that they weren't expecting this show to be so successful. In Voyager, there was an episode where Seven was able to use her nanobots to save Neelix's life. Just saying, you've got Seven, you've got Shaw. There's Borg technology everywhere. Get him onto Voyager, bit of nanobots. Shaw's back in the game. Just saying, Terry, you can have that for free, but you need to figure out how to bring Shaw back. So I'm literally sitting there going, oh my God, I've got tears welling up in my eyes. The crew's all on the shuttle. They're heading back to Geordie's flying the shuttle, and Data's like, well, where are we going? And he's back to we need a ship, so we're going back to the Fleet Museum. And he's like, well, what? The Fleet Museum's not there. And he's like, oh, can we just have a little bit of optimism? Well, if it's not there, and I think we're all going to die, kind of thing. And Geordie's like, can we have a little bit of optimism? And Data's, well, maybe we'll die quickly. There's some cracking one-liners in this episode. Really, really little chuckle out loud moments. So they get back to the Fleet Museum, and Geordie explains that I've been working on something, and this is a reference to Hangar 12 that Alondra made. And we see the doors open of Hangar 12, and it's the Enterprise D. Now, there's been some naysayers on Twitter, because there always are, going, so Geordie basically says that he's been rebuilding the Enterprise D for like 20 odd years. I mean, it's taken him 20 years to put this ship back together. It's not like he knocked it up in a weekend, but like, oh yeah, what, one person could put a whole starship back together. Okay, there's probably a little bit extended disbelief, but hey, this is the 24th century. He's had 20 years to do it. He's probably had his daughter helping him. He's probably had other cadets and people help him, and with replicators and bits and parts and stuff. 20 years, I think it's feasible. The saucer section was pretty much in one piece when it was brought back. And he says because of the Prime Directive, Starfleet had to go get the saucer section. They couldn't leave it on that planet because it would interfere with their development. And then the back end, he was able to salvage from another ship, like a sister ship. And basically, when you get the two halves of a car and you weld them together, that. So I think 20 odd years it's feasible to put the ship back together. Come on. So yeah, then we get this absolutely amazing scene. They walk out onto the bridge, and it's obviously just the whole original crew back on the Enterprise D bridge. bright lights. Beige and bright lights is back. Is amazing. You got Geordie and Data, like as per sort of seasons 1 and 2, before Geordie became chief engineer, obviously Picard, and the computer comes on, and we all know whose voice that is. And then she's like, the computer's command handed to Captain Picard, and he's like, I'll take the field demotion. And there's a lovely exchange, and he sort of says, like, again, you don't have to come, I've got to go get Jack, and Geordie's got to go get his kids, and Riker's like, wherever you go, we go. And I think Deanna says, Jack, Sydney and Alondra are your kids, they're our kids as well, we're all in this together. And obviously with the D, because it's an old ship, it's kind of what they call it analog. It's not connected to this new network that all the other ships are on, being controlled by the Borg. So you've got an old crew with an old ship taking on Starfleet pseudo-Borgs. And that's where the episode ended. I'm exhausted talking about it. It was just brilliant. I love this episode. I love the fact that they retconned the stupid Borg from season 2. I saw again Twitter, that's stupid. There's a massive plot hole. We saw the Borg Queen get killed in season 2? This is what about Alice's Borgs? And look, face it, Terry just ignored it or retconned it or both. He put the Borg in he wanted to put in, and I'm kudos to you, Terry, for it. So yeah. So the odds are bad. It's stacked against them. It's just those old dudes versus the whole of Starfleet and the Borg. So I guess can only speculate that somehow Jack is going to come good. Somehow he's going to help save them, because obviously he is human. He's a sort of human Borg hybrid. And as much as as we saw in First Contact, it's the Queen's kind of arrogance about having complete control and sort of knowing how people are going to behave was her Achilles heel last time. So I'm hoping Jack's going to come good and help save them all. Now, whether they can then unassimilate people, or if they put them back through the transporters, if they've got their original DNA in the transporter somewhere, or whether they can just neutralize the Borg technology, don't know. As I've been saying the whole of this flipping season, don't know. But yes, we've got to hope that Shaw can come back in some capacity to get working on that 7. That Jack comes good and everybody's saved. Because look, this is Star Trek. This is original Star Trek. It's optimistic. It's hopeful. It's got to end on a high. And everybody's been saying it nails the landing. So I only have optimism that it's all going to come good. You might lose some more people. I have no idea. But I cannot wait to find out. What's quite interesting, though, because if you think about Best of Both Worlds, the title of the TNG program, or episode, 2-part episode, obviously with the creation of Locutus, is that going to be Jack? Is he going to be the best of both worlds? That his humanity comes through, and because when he's talking to Picard, and Picard tells him all of this. Sorry, somebody just phoned. Tells him all of this and his story about the Locutus, but he's like, but I'm human, I care, I empathize, I can love, and that's it. Is his humanity is going to win out overall. So he's got these gifts that they can be gifts that he inherits from his Borg side that could be used to better humanity and space exploration, all those kind of things. But he'll have the humanity not to enslave and imprison and assimilate people. So is Jack going to be the best of both worlds? Don't know. So anyway, very quick overview. I love this episode. It just went at pace. It was so quick. I'm hoping, oh God, I'd love for next week's to be a 2-hour finale. It's probably just going to be an hour, but I just cannot wait. And then I can't wait to rewatch the whole thing again. Once you kind of know where it's going, you pick up other Easter eggs and things you didn't quite get the first time round. I cannot wait for that. So I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I hope you got the right answer, that you figured it out. And if you didn't, you are okay with the reveal. I know people go, oh, the Borg again. But hey, it's given us this fantastic story. I am chuffed to bits with the crew, the Enterprise D. I'm just peed about Shaw. But hey, I've given you a way out, Terry Matalis, nanobots. So anyway, let me know what you think. Love to see your comments on the series, this week's episode, what you're thinking, what you're loving, what you're hating. Were you happy with the reveal? Are you disappointed it's the Borg? Let me know. If you've enjoyed this quick, you can tell I am just still absolutely buzzing and ecstatic, and I cannot wait to watch this episode again. So hope you enjoyed this review, that I've energized you as much as I'm feeling, and I will be back for the finale next week, which I cannot wait to talk to you about. Have a great week, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.